Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Friday, April 2nd, 2021. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's Major League Baseball opening day games and look ahead to tonight or today in the weekend's games. Look back on yesterday's NBA and NHL games and look ahead to tonight in the weekend's games. Men's Final Four, women's Final Four, your picks. I'm going to predict who's going to be in the women's national title game and make a guess pick for that. Golf. We'll go over the current leaderboard at the Valero Texas Open, latest news and notes, which is a lot, and my best bet of the day. All right, we're going to start with Major League Baseball. Yesterday was opening day. It was a lot of fun to see fans back in the stands for Major League Baseball. Blue Jays over the Yankees 3-2 in 10 innings. Blue Jays want to know Yankees 0-1. Getting the win for the Jays out of the bullpen was Jordan Romano, Nick Nelson the loss, and Julian Merriweather the save. Gary Sanchez and Tasker Hernandez homered for their respective teams. Hyunjin Ryu, 5 1/3, 4 hits, 2 runs, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. Garrett Cole, 5 1/3, 5 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Tigers over the Indians 3-2. The Tigers want to know Cleveland 0-1. Matt Boyd the win, Shane Bieber the loss, Gregory Soto the save. Miguel Cabrera won the highlights of opening day, hit a home run in the bottom of the first inning in the snow. Roberto Perez was the lone offense with a 2-run shot for Cleveland to make that game a little bit more interesting for the Tigers and the Indians. Brewers over the Twins 6-5 in 10 on a walk-off fielder's choice by Orlando Arcia. Milwaukee's at 1-0. Minnesota's 0-1. Josh Hader to win. Randy Dobnak the loss. Byron Buxton homered in this game for Minnesota. Kenta Maeda 4 1/3, 6 hits, and a run, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Brandon Woodruff 4 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Pirates over the Cubs 5-3. The Pirates 1-0. Chicago 0-1. Getting the win for Pittsburgh was Sam Howard. Cal Hendricks the loss, and Richard Rodriguez the save. Brian Hayes hit a big home run in the top of the first inning. In this game, Chad Cole got the start, 3 innings, a hit and a run, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. Kyle Hendricks, 3 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, 63 pitches. Phillies over the Braves 3-2 in 10 innings on a walk-off RBI single by Gene Segura. Philly 1-0, Atlanta 0-1. Getting the win for Philly was Connor Brogdon. The loss for Atlanta, Nate Jones. Pablo Sandoval had a game-tying home run in the top of the 7th inning. A pinch hit shot. And that was the lone offense of the day for Atlanta. Aaron Nola was fabulous. 6 2/3, 6 hits, 2 runs, no walks, and 6 strikeouts. Max Reed, 5 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Padres over the Diamondbacks 8-7. This was a wild game. San Diego's 1-0, Arizona's 0-1. Emilio Pagan the win. Alex Young the loss, and Mark Melancon the save. Eric Hosmer, Will Myers, Ketel Marte, Asdrubal Cabrera, a pinch hit shot from Tim LaCastro. Then Stephen Vogt gave the Diamondbacks a 7-6 lead in the 5th inning. But, yeah, those are all the home runs in this game. This game was wild. Yu Darvish, 4 2/3, 8 hits, 4 runs, a walk, and 6 strikeouts. Madison Bumgarner, 4 innings, 7 hits, 6 runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. Rockies over the Dodgers 8-5. Rockies 1-0, Dodgers 0-1. Chichi Gonzalez to win, Clayton Kershaw the loss, Daniel Bard the save. Home runs in this game should have been won by Cody Bellinger, but it just turned out to be an RBI single as the glove went out of the left fielder's glove. Amazingly enough, there are no homers in this game. There's a lot of runs, but the lesser team came out on top in Colorado. 4 innings, 6 hits, and a run, 6 walks, 2 strikeouts for German Marquez. Clayton Kershaw with the rare poor opening day start. 5 2/3 innings, 10 hits, 5 runs, a walk, and 2 strikeouts. Cardinals over the Reds 11-6. The Cardinals 1-0. The Reds 0-1. Giovanni Gallegos the win, Luis Castillo the loss. Tyler O'Neill, Dylan Carlson, and Nicholas Castellanos and Eugenio Suarez were the home run hitters on their respective teams. Jack Flaherty, 4 1/3, 6 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Luis Castillo, 3 1/3, 8 hits, 8 home runs, 2 walks, and no strikeouts. Rays over the Marlins, 1-0. Rays 1-0, Marlins 0-1. Getting the win for Tampa Bay, Ryan Thompson the loss. Yimi Garcia and Diego Castillo the save. The lone run in this game was a home run in the top of the 8th by Austin Meadows. Tyler Glasnow was fabulous. 6 innings, 1 hit, no home runs, no walks, 6 strikeouts. The lone hit in this game was off the bat of Jorge Alfaro. Sandy Alcantara was fabulous. 6 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, no one runs, 7 strikeouts. Royals over the Rangers 14-10. This was a wild game. KC 1-0, Texas 0-1. Getting the win was Carlos Hernandez. The loss, Kyle Cody. The save, Wade Davis, who's also back on the Royals. It's cool that the Royals brought back Wade Davis and Greg Holland. A lot of runs in this game. Michael A. Taylor, Jorge Soler, and Whit Merrifield were your home run hitters in this game. Brad Keller, 1 1/3, 9 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks, no strikeouts. Kel Gibson, a third of an inning, 4 hits, 5 runs, 3 walks, and a strikeout. This game was wild. And the Rangers had 5-0 and 8-5 leads in this game. Couldn't hang on. Angels over the White Sox 4-3 as my best bet of the White Sox wet the bed. Angels 1-0, White Sox 0-1. Getting the win for LA was Mike Myers, the loss, Aaron Bummer, the save, Rafael Iglesias, Max Stassi, and Adam Eaton were your home run hitters in this game. Dylan Bundy wasn't bad, 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, a walk, 6 strikeouts. Lucas Giolito, 5 2/3, 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Astros over the Athletics 8-1. The Astros 1-0, Oakland 0-1. Zach Greinke to win, Chris Bassett the loss. Home runs in this game, Michael Brantley and Alex Bregman. Zach Greinke, 6 innings, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts. Chris Bassett, 5 1/3, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Mariners over the Giants 8-7 in 10 innings on a walk-off walk in the bottom of the 10th. Jake Fraley. Getting the win for Seattle was Anthony Misiewicz, and the loss for the Giants, Jose Alvarez. Home runs in this game, Evan Longoria, Buster Posey, Austin Slater, and a game-tying home run in the top of the 9th for San Francisco, which forced extra innings by Alex Dickerson. But Seattle comes out on top. One of 2 small wagers I placed yesterday in Major League Baseball comes through. Marco Gonzalez, 6 innings, 8 hits, 5 runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. Kevin Gausman, 6 2/3, 2 hits, and a run, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. So he wasn't bad for San Francisco. Orioles Red Sox postponed due to rain makeup day today. And the Mets and the Nationals postponed due to COVID issues with the Nationals. I won't be shocked if the Mets don't play until Monday in Philadelphia, because this is the biggest outbreak since the Cardinals last year. Although the Cardinals was much bigger, the Nationals, they're considering it an outbreak for cases because it affected a couple games. Alrighty then. Mets Nationals wasn't supposed to be today. That was a mistake. But yeah, it's supposed to be Saturday and Sunday. I think both those games will get postponed. So today's slate, you have the Orioles and the Red Sox at 2 o'clock. The Red Sox are minus 180 favorites. Baltimore's plus 152. Over under 9.5. Over is minus 114. Under is minus 106. Orioles plus 1.5 is minus 118. Red Sox -1, F is -102. I'm taking the Orioles +152. I had this pick yesterday, keeping with it. John Means is better than Nathan Eovaldi. 7 o'clock, the Rays and the Marlins. The Rays are -106. The Marlins are -110. Over under 7.5. Rays -1 F is +160. Marlins +1 F is -194. I am surprised that the Marlins are favored in this game, to be quite honest. If I'm not mistaken, I had Yarbrough higher than Lopez in my pitchers rankings. I had Yarbrough 69 or 68. And then Pablo Lopez at 77. So it's not a far difference. But the Rays bullpen, I think, is a little bit better than the Marlins bullpen. I'm going to take this. Oh, now the Rays are favored. Okay, that was quick. I'll take the Rays at -110. $8:30, the Dodgers and the Rockies. The Dodgers are -275. The Rockies are +225. Over under 11.5. Overs -115. Unders -105. Dodgers -1 F is -176. Rockies +1 F is +146. And by the way, it's Trevor Bauer and Antonio Senzatella. I'm going to go with the under here. Bit me in the butt yesterday, taking the under in the game. Because the Rockies offense randomly scored a bunch of runs. I don't think that's going to happen again. I'm going under 11.5. I think this is like a 7-3 Dodgers win. 9:30, the White Sox and the Angels. The White Sox are +102 underdogs. Angels are -120, over under 9. Overs -102, unders -120. White Sox +1 F is -205. The Angels -1 F is +168. I'm going to jump on the train again and go with the White Sox again at +102. They should not be an underdog here. White Sox bullpen blew it yesterday. I think that they bounce back here. Dallas Keuchel, who I have much higher than Andrew Heaney in my pitchers rankings. I have Keuchel at 21, and I have Andrew Heaney pretty far down in like the 100s, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Yeah, Andrew Heaney is pretty far down there. He's just somebody that's really 92. That's not that terrible. So, I'm gonna go with the White Sox +102 on the money line. Andrew Heaney really hasn't put it together yet. Astros Athletics. The A's are -146 favorites. The Astros are +124, over under 8. Overs -114, unders -108. Astros +1 F is -176. A's -1 F is +146. I'm going to go with the under 8 at -106. I love Jesus Luzardo. Christian Javier is not bad either. I have both of these guys pretty high on my list. Luzardo, I have 29. And Javier, I have 76. That's a pretty big differential. I'm going to go under 8 at -106. I just like that number. 10 o'clock, Diamondbacks, Padres. You have Merrill Kelly and Blake Snell. Padres are -250. Diamondbacks are +205. Over under 8.5. Overs -106. Unders -114. Diamondbacks +1 F is -105. Padres -1 F is -114. This is a tough call here. The over exploded yesterday. I'm going to go over 8.5 at -106. I think both these bullpens are vulnerable, as we saw yesterday. So I'm going to go over 8.5 at -106. And by the way, Snell is pretty high on my list. And Merrill Kelly had in the top 100 too. And I can't find Blake Snell on the list, but anyway, I'm taking the over. And I really think that these bullpens are pretty taxed. And last but not least, the Giants and the Mariners again. The Mariners are minus 130 favorites. Giants plus 110. It's Johnny Cueto and Yusei Kikuchi. Over under 8.5. Giants plus 1.5 is minus 196. Mariners minus 1.5 is plus 162. Yusei Kikuchi I have ranked pretty low. Item 151. Johnny Cueto is 111. I'm going to take my shot here at the Giants plus 110. I think this could be a high-scoring game. I also like the over, but I feel better about San Francisco. I'm going to say they bounce back and win this game, so plus 110 for the Giants. Alrighty, the rest of the weekend's games. Saturday, 1 o'clock, Blue Jays, Yankees. Ross Stripling and Corey Kluber. Orioles, Red Sox, Matt Harvey and Tanner Houck. Indians, Tigers, Zach Plesac and Julio Teheran. 2 o'clock, Rangers, Royals. Kohei Aihara making his big league debut against Mike Minor. So Mike Minor against his former team. Pirates, Cubs, Tyler Anderson and Jake Arrieta. 4 o'clock, the Braves and the Phillies. Charlie Morton and Zach Wheeler. Mets, Nationals, Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. So it looks like that they're going to play on Saturday, which to me would be surprising, but it would be cool if they played because we don't want to miss out on a special pitching matchup. Astros, Athletics, Lance McCullers Jr. We don't know who's going for Oakland. Maybe it's an opener. Cardinals, Reds, Adam Wainwright and Tyler Mahle. 6 o'clock, the Rays and the Marlins. Rich Hill, we don't know who's going for Miami. 7 o'clock, the Twins and the Brewers. Jose Barrios and Corbin Burns. 8 o'clock, the Dodgers and the Rockies. Walker Buehler and John Gray. 8:30, Diamondbacks, Padres. Caleb Smith, we don't know who's going for the Padres. 9 o'clock, White Sox, Angels. Lance Lynn and Alex Cobb. And Giants, Mariners. Logan Webb and Chris Flexen. Sunday, 1 o'clock, Blue Jays, Yankees. We don't know who's going for the Blue Jays, and Domingo Germán's going for the Yankees. 1 o'clock, ESPN, the Braves and the Phillies, Ian Anderson and Zach Eflin. I love the Braves in this game. Ian Anderson, to me, was my pick was for the National League Rookie of the Year award, so I'm going to go with Ian Anderson and the Braves. The Mets and the Nationals, assuming they play, Marcus Stroman. And we don't know who's going for Washington, probably Patrick Corbin or Steven Strasburg. Orioles, Red Sox, Bruce Zimmerman and Garrett Richards. Oh, and by the way, it might not be one of those guys if one of those guys have COVID. Referring to Strasburg or Corbin. Indians, Tigers, Aaron Savali and Tariq Skubal. Cardinals, Reds, Carlos Martinez and Jeff Hoffman. 2 o'clock, the Twins and the Brewers, Michael Pineda and Adrian Hauser. Rangers, Royals, Jordan Lyles and Brady Singer. Pirates, Cubs at 2:15, Mitch Keller and Zach Davies. 3 o'clock, Dodgers, Rockies, Julio Urias and Austin Gomber. 4 o'clock, Astros and the Athletics, Jose Urquidy, we don't know who's going for Oakland. 4 o'clock, the Diamondbacks and the Padres, Taylor Widener, and we don't know, had in prime time on ESPN, Sunday Night Baseball, Dylan Cease, Shohei Ohtani. This is a great matchup. Cease showed some promise last year, and we all know what Ohtani's capable of. We're all probably expecting to see the Angels as a favorite because of Shohei Ohtani and what flashes he's shown as a pitcher. I think the Angels will probably win this game because of Ohtani and his brilliance. And by the way, my pitching rankings, I have Ohtani at I had him as my highest ranked Angels starter. I know that. By the way, I had Dylan Cease in the 50s to 53. And I had Shohei Ohtani, I believe, higher than that. Or did I have him lower? I don't remember where I had Shohei Ohtani, but I'm going to go with the Angels at home. And I think that he'll pitch well. Cease will pitch well too. Low-scoring game, but I think Ohtani just out-duel him. All right, so there you have it for Major League Baseball for the next couple of days. Now move on to the NBA, as we will go over a solid window from last night, and we'll look ahead to tonight and the weekend. 76ers over the Cavs, 114-94. Pistons over the Wizards, 120-91. Nets over the Hornets, 111-89. Heat over the Warriors, 116-109. Magic over the Pelicans, 115-110 in overtime. Hawks over the Spurs, 134-129 in double overtime. And the Nuggets over the Clippers, 101-94. Tonight's window at 7 o'clock, you have the Warriors and the Raptors NBA Finals rematch, but not really because Kevin Durant's not there and neither is Kawhi Leonard. My projection is Golden State 7.5, total 225.5. Meanwhile, it is Toronto by 2. What the heck? Like, is Steph Curry playing? He should be. Like, come on. That's the worst line I've seen all year. Golden State's a lock. +2. 7:30 Rockets Celtics. Boston 14 total 22 is my projections. Meanwhile, it's Boston by 10. I'm still laying the 10 with Boston. NBA TV Mavs Knicks. So Kristaps Porzingis back in the Garden for the second time as a Maverick. I have Dallas by 7 total 216. Meanwhile, it's Dallas 5.5 total 213. Numbers are pretty close. I'm going to take the over. I have a little edge on Dallas, but I like the over. I think that Dallas is going to score a lot of points. I think Porzingis has a big game, obviously, back in MSG. He's going to hear a lot of boos. Doncic will be awesome. He likes the bright lights and the big skitty. And I'm going to say Randall plays a big game. The Knicks better have RJ Barrett if this are to go over. So I'm going to go over on Mavs Knicks at -108. 8 o'clock, the Hornets and the Pacers. I have Pacers 5.5 total to 24.5. That's 4 and 222.5. I'm going to take the over at -112. And by the way, it's Pacers 4 total 222.5. If I didn't mention that earlier. Wolves, Grizzlies, I'm at Memphis 16.5 total 224.5. About 6.5 and 230.5. I'm going to lay the 6.5 at Memphis at -114. 9 o'clock, the Hawks and the Pelicans. We don't know the status of Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball yet. They're questionable. Zion's questionable too, but I have him out. I have Atlanta 4.5 total to 27. Even if Zion was there, it'd be 1.5 for Atlanta. Meanwhile, it's Hawks by 1.5. I'm laying the 1.5 of the Hawks. Let's just assume that 2 of the big 3 will be out for the Pelicans. The Bulls and the Jazz, I'm at Jazz 18.5, total 224.5. Meanwhile, it's 14, and we don't have a total yet. I'm laying the 14 with the Jazz. You have at 10 o'clock, the Thunder and the Suns. My projections are 22, 219.5 for the Suns, and it's 13.5 and 219. I'm laying the 13.5 with the Suns at -108. The Thunder are clearing, tanking. NBA TV, a great game. I think the game of the night, the Bucks and the Trailblazers. I am at Milwaukee 12 total 231. Meanwhile, it's 3 and 236.5. I know it's a big number, but I'm laying the 3 at the Bucks. I'm sure Giannis will play. Best player on the court. Could be Damian Lillard, though, but I'm going to lay the 3 at the Bucks. I have a big edge. And last but not least, the Lakers and the Kings. I'm at Lakers 2 total 225. Meanwhile, it's Sacramento 4.5, total 221.5. I'm going to go over. Sacramento overs are trendy. I know the Lakers would be a sexy pick too, but I just don't trust them on the road against a not-so-terrible team without their best two players. So I'm going to be the over 221.5 just to be safe. I think the Laker offense will score a little bit because Sacramento's defense stinks. But I think that Sacramento's going to put up a ton of points here because the Lakers defense stinks without Anthony Davis and LeBron James. So over 221.5 is the play here. The rest of the weekend on Saturday, we got at 7 o'clock the Mavs and the Wizards, 8 o'clock the Knicks and the Pistons, the Cavs at the Heat, the Timberwolves at the Sixers, 9 o'clock the Pacers at the Spurs, the Magic at the Jazz, 10 o'clock the Thunder and the Trailblazers, and the Bucks and the Kings. Sunday, 2 o'clock the Nets and the Bulls, 3:30 ABC, huge game, Lakers-Clippers from the Staples Center. Unfortunate because no AD and LeBron, so this should be a Clippers blowout, assuming that neither of them are back. 6 o'clock, the Hornets and the Celtics, so the return of Gordon Hayward. Will he get any boos? 7 o'clock, Grizzlies 76ers, 7:30 NBA TV, Warriors Hawks. Solid game. 8 o'clock, the Pelicans and the Rockets, and at 10 o'clock at NBA TV, the Magic at the Nuggets, which is not a good game by any stretch of the imagination. Now I'm going to go over the NHL results from last night, and we will look ahead to tonight and the weekend. Rangers over the Sabres, 3-2 in overtime on a game winner by Mika Zibanejad. Penguins over the Bruins, 4-1. Isles over the Capitals, 8-4. Lightning over the Blue Jackets, 3-2. Panthers over the Red Wings, 3-2 in overtime on a game winner by Alex Wenberg. Canadiens over the Senators, 4-1. Hurricanes over the Blackhawks, 4-3. Stars over the Preds, 4-1. Wild over the Golden Knights, 3-2 in a shootout. Tonight's games at 7 o'clock, you have the Capitals and the Devils. The Capitals are minus 162. The Devils are plus 136. Over under 6.5. Overs plus 112. Unders minus 140. Capitals minus 1.5 is plus 172. The Devils plus 1.5 is minus 210. The Devils have been frisky, so I'm just going to play it safe and go with the Capitals in regulation at minus 105. I think they bounce back after the Islander loss. It'll be Vitek Vanecek and net, the better of the two goalies. So I'm going to be laying the minus 1.5, or minus 105, with the Washington Capitals. 8 o'clock, the Maple Leafs and the Jets. The Leafs are minus 146. The Jets are plus 124. Over under 6.5. Overs even money. Unders minus 122. Maple Leafs minus 1.5 is plus 172. The Jets plus 1.5 is minus 210. I'm going to take the Jets plus 124 on the money line. I think they bounce back here and get the win, and they need it too. 9 o'clock, the Flames and the Oilers. The Oilers are minus 134. The Flames are plus 130. Over under 5.5. Overs minus 148. Unders plus 118. The Flames plus 1.5 is minus 210. The Oilers minus 1.5 is plus 172. I'm going to take another dog here. I'm going to go with Calgary. They need this game in the worst way. Take advantage of Vancouver not having COVID and try to pass them in the standings. Or take advantage of Vancouver having COVID, paused, and pass them in the standings. So I'm going to go Calgary plus 130 against Edmonton. Blues Avalanche. The Avs are minus 240. The Blues are minus 198. Over under 5.5. Overs minus 28. Unders plus 104. Blues plus 1.5 is minus 134. The Avs minus 1.5 is plus 112. How are the Blues that big of an underdog? They're in fourth in the West. Arizona's up their heels. They need this game in the worst way. I'm going to make a bold call and take an almost 2-1 underdog. That should be better than this. They won the Cup 2 years ago. Going with the Blues, plus 198 at the Avalanche. 10 o'clock, the Coyotes and the Ducks. The Coyotes are minus 124. The Ducks are plus 106. Over under 5.5. Overs plus 112. Unders minus 138. Coyotes plus or minus 1.5 is plus 210. The Ducks plus 1.5 is minus 260. I'm going to go over 5.5 and plus 112. I love the over in this game. The Coyotes have been an over team recently. It's going to be over 5.5 and plus 112. And the Sharks and the Kings tied in the standings, amazingly enough. The Kings are minus 132. The Sharks are plus 112. Over under 5.5. Over is minus 124. Unders plus 102. Sharks plus 1.5 is minus 230. The Kings minus 1.5 is plus 188. I don't know where to go here. It's a really hard call. But I'm going to be bold and take the under here. Peterson has been very good for LA and net. The Sharks' offense has been feast or famine. So I'm going to go under 5.5. I think this could be 3-2 either way. So I'm going under 5.5 at plus 102. All right, the rest of the weekend. Saturday, 1 o'clock, Penguins, Bruins. Red Wings, Lightning. 3 o'clock, Blackhawks, Predators. 7 o'clock, Rangers, Sabres. Flyers, Islanders. Stars, Hurricanes. Blue Jackets, Panthers. Senators, Canadians. 9 o'clock, the Blues and the Avalanche. The Wild and the Golden Knights. 10 o'clock, the Canucks and the Oilers. And the Sharks and the Kings. Easter Sunday, 12 o'clock, NBC. The Red Wings and the Lightning. Wire the Red Wings on NBC. They're an atrocious train wreck. This is like the Sabres being on NBC. Why the hell are the Red Wings on NBC? Like, they're terrible. This is like the Knicks being on ABC back when the Knicks were actually terrible, but the Knicks aren't terrible now. But the Red Wings are still terrible. Get them off NBC. It ran over. 3 o'clock, the Capitals and the Devils. 5 o'clock, the Blue Jackets and the Panthers. 7 o'clock, NBCSN, a decent game, the Stars and the Hurricanes. Stars are better than the record indicates. I won't be shocked if they win the game outright. Canucks, Jets postponed. 9 o'clock, the Maple Leafs and the Flames, and the Coyotes and the Ducks. Now we'll switch over to the women's NCAA Tournament Final Four, which begins tonight from San Antonio. 6 o'clock, ESPN, South Carolina, Stanford, battle of 1 seeds. I'm going to pull up the lines. Stanford's a 6.5 point favorite. Total's 133.5. South Carolina is very juiced at minus 120 at plus 6.5. The over is also very juiced at minus 115. I think Stanford will win, but I'm going to play the over 133.5 at minus 118 or minus 115 for the podcast. At 9:30 ESPN, Arizona and UConn. UConn's a 14.5 point favorite. Total 128.5. See a Wildcats. It was a nice ride. Paige Beckers is the best player in college basketball. I'm winning the 14.5 with UConn at minus 104. And I think you'll be the best 2 teams in college basketball, Stanford and UConn, being in the national title game. I think UConn should be favored in the game by 3. Great players on both sides of the courts with Paige Beckers. And on the other side, with their great players led by Dana Evans. But Paige Beckers is easily the best player on the court. I'm sorry. Paige Beckers will be the MVP. Paige Beckers is the best player in college basketball. You can't bet against Paige Beckers. UConn will win, and I think they'll win the game by like 5 to 7 points on Sunday. So UConn, for the first time in 5 years, will be your women's NCAA tournament champions, led by the stud Paige Beckers. Now we'll move on to the men's side of the tournament. Final Four tomorrow. The first of the 2 games, 5:15 on CBS. 2-seeded Houston, 1-seeded Baylor. Obviously, South region and Midwest regions, respectively. My projections for this game: Baylor by 1.5, total 141. Meanwhile, it is Baylor 5, total 134.5. I'm going to play the over in this game. I think both these teams' offenses are very awesome. Both of these defenses have been amazing in the tournament as well. But I'm going to go over 134.5 for my play in this game. I think that this could be in the 140s potentially, and I won't be shocked if this game even goes to overtime. And at 8:30, you have your East seed, 11 seed UCLA against your West Region 1 seed Gonzaga. 8:30 on CBS. Jim Nance, Bill Rafferty, Grant Hill, both games. Obviously, my projections: Gonzaga 13, total 150.5. Your odds 14 and 145.5. I'm going to take the over again. The market, I think, has overreacted a little bit to all these unders in Gonzaga games. Don't forget the total combined in the Elite Eight game with USC was 151. So I'm going to go over 145.5 between UCLA and Gonzaga. I think UCLA could score a little bit too. I could see this game being like 85-72 or something like that as your final score. And then you're going to get the highly anticipated matchup that we all wanted between the best two teams in college basketball, Baylor and Gonzaga. Now I'm going to go over the current leaderboard for the Valero Open in Texas. It's gone off to an interesting start, to say the least. In first place right now, with a score of 8 under, is Camilo Villegas. Tied for second with 6 under, Cam Triangle and Sunghoon Kang. Tied for fourth with 5 under, Hideki Matsuyama, Jordan Spieth, and Sayungyul No. Tied for 7th with 4 under, Taylor Hogue, Sebastian Munoz, and Scotty Scheffler. Tied for 10th with 3 under, Matthew Wallace, Rafa Cabrera Bello, Vincent Wally, and Kevin Stadler. Tied for 14th with 2 under, Adam Hadwin, Brandon Hagee, Kyung Hoon Lee, Matt Kuchar, Pat Perez, Brendan Steele, and Padraig Harrington. Tied for 21st with 1 under. It's a lot of them, so bear with me. Keegan Bradley, Kyle Stanley, Zach Johnson, Martin Trainer, Sepp Straka, Vaughn Taylor, Dylan McCarthy, Patton Kizer, and Ibrahim Lowry, Corey Connors, Gary Woodland, Caleb Schwartzel, Cameron Davis, Evan Van Rooyen, Wesley Bryan, and Ryan Moore. At even right now, tied for 37th place, Rory Sabbatini, Keith Mitchell, Doc Redman, who was my pick, Bryce Garnett. Doc Redman was not one of my picks. It was one of my long shot picks. Saiwoo Kim, Jason Duffner, Abraham Answer, Ashkay Bahita, Ryan Palmer, Jimmy Walker, KJ Choi, Brant Snecker, Rafael Campos, Joseph Barmlett, Roger Sloan, Martin Laird, Chris Kirk, and Chase Seifert. I think Chris Kirk might have been my pick. I don't remember who my outright pick was. All right, now I'll just do notables. Tied for 55th with 1 over. Chris Howell III, Tony Finau, Harold Varner III, Joel Dahman, Tyler Duncan, Lucas Glover. Tied for 77th with 2 over, Russell Knox, Bo Van Pelt, tied for 94th with 3 over Luke List, Adam Landry, Lucas Griffin. Tied for 109th with 4 over Camp Champ, Ricky Fowler. Tied for 125th with 5 over Adam Putnam, Danny Lee. J.J. Spawn is tied for 134th with 6 over along with J.J. Colleen, J.B. Holmes, Henrik Norlander. 140th, Phil Mickelson is 7 over. And that's really it for your notables. Now the latest news and notes. The biggest story that happened yesterday, Roy Williams is calling it a career, retiring from coaching, 70 years old, over 400 wins in each North Carolina and Kansas, finishes his career with a total of 904 wins total. Congratulations to Roy Williams on a fabulous coaching career, 3 national titles, one of the best coaches in college basketball history, the best coach in North Carolina history, arguably the best coach in Kansas history. So what a fabulous career for Roy. This kind of came out of nowhere. When I first saw it, I thought it was an April Fool's joke, but it took me a couple seconds to realize that it wasn't. So Roy Williams ends a fabulous coaching career after losing his first round game of the tournament. That was bizarre. Like, this year is his only first-round loss. This year's loss to Wisconsin was his first round 1 loss he's ever had in the NCAA tournament, which is bonkers. A lot of his peers came out and said well wishes, like Mike Krzyzewski and Jim Boeheim, Bill Self, who replaced him at Kansas. So those guys all obviously had nice things to say. And the sport isn't going to be the same. And he had 12 seasons with 30 wins, which is the second most behind, obviously, Coach K. And he'll, like I said, he'll be missed. And now the question is, who will replace the legend at North Carolina? They're going to be making calls to a lot of people. You're crazy to turn this job down. This is North Carolina. This is the best job in college basketball. I think that Hubert Davis, his assistant, is in play to be the replacement because he's been on the bench for 9 years as an assistant. I think that this could be a replacement in waiting situation. Steve Robinson has been an assistant under Roy his whole time there. Obviously, he was a former head coach. Brad Frederick, 8 years with Roy on the bench. So I think those 3 guys will get a look. Wes Miller is a Carolina alumni. He's obviously the head coach at UNC Greensboro. And I know there's a lot of talks about they're going to keep it in the family. And Wes is in the family, quote unquote. And then the 3 guys I talked about first are in the family. Kenny Smith will be talked about, who's currently a TNT analyst. But I doubt they'll go there. But I think that Carolina should go outside the box. And my first thought in terms of replacements, and this was before it was announced that Texas was hiring Chris Beard. But part of me thought, Chris Beard, North Carolina. But then it was announced that he was going to Texas. But can Chris Beard do what he did last time to UNLV? Taking the UNLV job, but leaving to go to Texas Tech without even coaching a game for them? I think there's a more than 0% chance of Chris Beard ending up in North Carolina. I wouldn't rule that out, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's a less than 1% chance, but a more than 0% chance if you ask me. I think they're going to call a lot of big names. I think that Mark Few will get a phone call. And him and Roy Williams are very close, apparently. Jade Wright will get a phone call. Bill Self might get a phone call. Tony Bennett will get a look at Virginia, so that'd be wild if Tony Bennett left Virginia for North Carolina. And obviously he turned Virginia into a perennial contender in his tenure. And it's going to be interesting. Would Tony Bennett leave one ACC school for another? We just saw Chris Beard leave a Big 12 school for another Big 12 school. So I think Tony Bennett will be in play. I think some of those West Coast guys could be in play, like Mick Cronin, who's in the Final Four right now. We talked about Mark Few in the Final Four. I also think that Dana Altman could be in play. Andy Enfield could be in play. Bobby Hurley could be in play. But everyone's pointing to Bobby Hurley as the next the Duke coach once Coach K retires. Or Jeff Claffel. But can't be ruled out Bobby Hurley. Dan Hurley of UConn. Although he just got there, so it would be kind of wacky for him to leave UConn after 2 years. And same with Cronin at UCLA. Scott Drew at Baylor will get a look. He's gotten a lot of that Baylor program and turned Baylor into a perennial contender in the Big 12, a la Tony Bennett at Virginia. But yeah, UNC has to go big name hunting. This is UNC for crying out loud. They have to go big game hunting here, just like Texas did with Chris Beard. And if I'm North Carolina, I'd call Chris Beard and say, you sure you don't want to go to Texas? You want to come here? This is a better job. Or North Carolina, for crying out loud. And the Texas, and they're going to say their pitch would be Texas is dysfunctional. They turn on you quickly. You saw that with Shaka Smart. You saw that with Tom Herman in football. Why not come here? But I doubt that. There's a couple other names that I have in my head that I thought about for this job. I don't think Tom Izzo's willing to leave Michigan State. But there are a couple Big Ten coaches that I think could be in play. Brett Underwood, Chris Holtmann. Another one I thought about from the Big Ten, Steve Peichel. But I doubt he'd leave Rutgers right now. That would be too big of a jump, I think, for Steve, if he were to do that. I talked about Scott Drew and Chris Beard from the Big 12. I think Bill Self might get a phone call, too. Bob Huggins isn't leaving West Virginia. He's kind of like the junior version of what Roy and what Mike and what Jim are, or what Roy was and what Mike and Jim are for Duke and Syracuse, respectively, and what Rick was at Louisville before he was fired due to the off-court stuff. So you can cross off Bob Huggins, you can cross off Tom Izzo. But the case for Bill Self is simple. Kansas is in a lot of trouble with scansions and whatnot. When's the next time they're going to make the NCAA tournament? So why not bounce for a better job if you're Bill Self and you follow the footsteps of Roy Williams? So how fitting would it be for Bill Self to not only follow Roy Williams at Kansas, but to follow him in North Carolina? I won't be shocked if Bill Self is your next head coach at the University of North Carolina. So it's going to be interesting to see who they hire. This is a fantastic subplot to watch. I think they should go outside the family. Bill Self would be a fabulous hire. Tony Bennett would be a fabulous hire. I don't think I would call anybody in the family fabulous. I think they'd be inspiring, but not fabulous. And Brad Stevens would be fabulous too, but I doubt that he would leave the Celtics for this. And I doubt that Billy Donovan would leave the Bulls for North Carolina, too. I heard that name thrown out as well. And I hinted at it while talking about Carolina candidates. Chris Beard has accepted the job at Texas. This should come to no surprise. Apparently, this was his dream job. And that's why I highly doubt that he will be the next North Carolina coach, because we saw what he did to UNLV. He was initially the UNLV coach, but he switched to Texas Tech. That's why I had to mention him in the North Carolina thing. But Chris Beard's the next head coach at Texas. If you're Texas, you better not hope this is Archie Miller at Indiana 2.0, which I doubt it. Chris Beard's a better coach than Archie Miller. Archie Miller was probably a little overrated because of the A-10 success. He just wasn't ready for the big stage and the bright lights. I think Chris is ready. I think Texas Tech was a good place for him, obviously making the national title game and almost winning the national championship with Texas Tech 2 years ago. And now Chris Beard has a better job, will recruit better players, and will get a lot more out of his players than Shaka Smart did with Texas. Shaka Smart knew he was on the hot seat, and that Abilene Christian loss is the reason why he bounced. Because he knew he was going to be on the hot seat coming in the next season after that horrible loss in the NCAA tournament. So a great hire for Texas. This was the best that they can do, in my opinion. And now the question is, what's next for Texas Tech? Where will they go? That's a good question. Where will Texas Tech go? So the Big 12 is seeing a lot of turnover this year. You see it with Tech and Texas, Iowa State, and potentially Baylor if Scott Drew goes to North Carolina, which I wouldn't rule out. And by the way, North Carolina has 3 potential candidates in the Final Four with Mark Few, Scott Drew, and Mick Cronin. And then another one I wouldn't rule out, by the way, is Nate Oates, but I think that he should stay at Alabama for the time being. But you never know. I don't know if he's too big for the job like Herman was at Texas or Miller was at Indiana or Shaka was at Texas, but I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't think Nate Oates will bounce yet. I just had to throw out Nate Oates' name, but I don't think Nate Oates will bounce to Texas Tech, because that to me, from Alabama to Texas Tech, is a drop-off. I'm sorry, it just is. And Texas Tech candidates, Mark Adams, I think could get an interview. He coached under Chris Beard as an assistant for the 5 years that Chris Beard was at Texas Tech. Craig Smith went to Utah. I think that Brian Dutcher should get a look from San Diego State. Oh, and I don't think Calvin Sampson's leaving Houston. I think that is like their version of Bob Huggins at West Virginia. I don't think that he would leave for North Carolina either, by the way, because I was trying to think of who the other Final Four coach was. But Calvin Sampson had a big job at Indiana, but ultimately got fired, and I think he likes where he is in Houston. But I don't see Calvin leaving. To me, that's a Bob Huggins, West Virginia parallel right there. Another coach that I would keep my eye on is Dan Hurley. Isaac Brown. I don't think Dan Hurley would leave for Texas Tech. But that's just a name I want to throw out there. I mean, maybe for North Carolina, but I don't think for Texas Tech, because UConn is too, brand, and they're in the Big East. They're a major school, yeah. I forgot. I'm thinking AC, and I'm thinking UConn. I don't know why I did that. Tim Jankovich, I think it could be in play for Texas Tech. Kyle Keller of Stephen F. Austin. I think that Joe Golding from Abilene Christian will be in play for Texas Tech. Paul Mills of Oral Roberts, even though he just got a long-term contract extension. Oregon State's Wayne Tinkle saved his job this year at Oregon State, but I doubt he would bounce for Texas Tech. Nevada's Steve Alford, maybe, but I doubt it. There's a couple other guys that I would keep my eye on for Texas Tech. Wes Miller, I obviously mentioned. I don't think Rick Pitino will bounce from Iona. I mentioned that assistant under Beard as well. So, yeah, they have some candidates. And DePaul, by the way, hired Tony Stubfield as its next head coach. Stubfield obviously was an assistant for a while under Dana Altman at Oregon. And I think that Altman taught him well. And I think that Stubfield will have his work cut out for him early on. But this could end up working out. And this hire reminds me of what Penn State did with Mika Shrewsbury, who was a person on Matt Painter's staff at Purdue. We talked about Mike Woodson getting hired at Indiana. That was a really interesting hire, I thought. But I don't know if it'll work out. To me, this reminds me of Avery Johnson at Alabama. All right, I'm going to go very quickly for other news and notes. Sharif Cooper to enter the NBA draft. The Auburn freshman guard is one and done, potentially. Astros got booed yesterday by the Athletics, and rightfully so. The Nationals have 3 more positive COVID tests. Unsure when they will play next. This was actually kind of funny. Blue Jays star Bo Bichette sang Justin Bieber's Peaches on ESPN, and Carl Ravitch thought he wrote the song. That was one of the funniest things I saw yesterday. Shaq trolled Dwayne Wade postgame. Aaron Gordon says that he reps number 50 due to his perfect dunk score contests, and Shaq didn't let Wade forget about the 9. So that was pretty funny. Kevin Durant spoke about the Michael Rappaport DM saga, and he said he was sorry that people seen that language that he used. And he said that that's not really what he meant, people to see and hear from him. April Fool's joke. Mika Kimes had a very, very bad April Fool's Day, thinking that Adam Schefter pranked her, which was pretty funny, to say the least. There's a lot of good April Fool's jokes, including George Kittle pranking everybody, saying that he signed with the Jaguars and left the 49ers. And by the way, the Adam Schefter, Minka Kimes April Fool was something with the Seahawks and Russell Wilson potential. I think it was a Russell Wilson trade. I think that's where he got her. Arizona was left out of the NCAA Women's Final Four promotion video, which was a disaster on my part. I think that's a disaster. And obviously, the NCAA did the right thing and removed the video. Maybe they'll make a new one. I just think they forgot about Arizona. And obviously, all they cared about in that moment was Paige Beckers and Stanford and South Carolina, because those are the 3 best teams in college basketball, arguably. And they left out the Cinderella Arizona. That was terrible. Very, very terrible. And Arizona said it was frustrating, and I don't blame them one bit. The NFL agreed to a new data rights deal. Genesis Sports tapped as the league's exclusive distributor of data to sports books. Gino Auriemma says that the three-point arc should match the men's. That's a ballsy comment there by Gino. The World Series of Poker's dates were set for this year, September 30th to November 23rd in Las Vegas. East Tennessee State's men's basketball coach, Jason Shea, players are convinced that he stepped down because he supported their kneeling, which that made me scratch my head. His resignation scratched my head, and the excuse from the players. I think there's more to that. The WNBA draft, April 15th on ESPN, will be virtual for the second consecutive year. I think this is an interesting decision considering that the NFL is doing their draft in person. I thought that they'd be in person, but I was wrong. Charles Bassey is entering the NBA draft. The Western Kentucky big man, 25th ranked prospect on ESPN's Top 100. We talked about Chris Beard already. Dana Evans declares for the women's draft. We just talked about the WNBA draft. Carlos Correa, new deal with the Astros is not close. Andre Drummond out 2 games potentially for the Lakers. John Collins has an ankle sprain and will miss 1 week. I hinted at George Kittle's April Fool's joke, and he had a Jags-themed April Fool's jersey swap. Possible NFL rule changes, more video review, tweak to the kickoff return, restriction on blocking below waist, and there's others being considered. Kate Cunningham is entering the draft. No surprise, he might be the number 1 overall pick. I think that Evan Mobley gave him a run for his money with a great tournament. Tom Brady's doing very well after surgery, as Bucs GM Jason Licht said that he's progressing very well after minor surgical procedure. And last but not least, on the news front, the Chargers may be for sale as the Spanos Barbarian, the sister of owner Dean Spanos, asks the LA court to force sale of team amid mounting debt. So that is interesting to say the least. We'll see how that all plays out. And I want to talk a little American Idol on the show today, but we'll save that for Monday's show after the top 24 sings for the first time. Last but not least, my best bet of the day, brought to you by FanDuel. The Baylor Gonzaga total is changing, or they have a line out already in case it is it. It's Gonzaga 5.5. My best bet, I'm going to, by the way, the Mavericks went up to 6 against the Knicks. There's a couple changes. The Pelicans are favored. And by the way, I forgot to do no John Collins either. A lot of these lines have absolutely changed over the last couple minutes, but I really like Memphis tonight against Minnesota. Just betting against the Timberwolves is the way to go. So I'm going to lay the 6 with Memphis against Minnesota, as I think John Morant will have a spectacular game. All right, so that's it. I'll be back on Monday recapping the Final Four for both the men's and the women's championship, MLB, NBA, NHL, looking at the Monday stuff, American Idol, news and notes, golf, no NASCAR this weekend because of Easter. And I hope you guys have a fabulous holiday weekend, everybody.